Easy, comfortable, versatile. What comes to mind when I say these words? Probably not the Zoom call you had the other day. Intimidating, awkward, and limited. These words probably better describe what we think of when we think of video conference calls. Whether it was an interview, a meeting, or a lecture, we've all used video conference call software like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or Google Meet to communicate with others when people are in different places. And that brings me to introducing my capstone project to you. It's called LightView, and I'm giving you a little sneak peek here before we jump into everything. To introduce myself, my name is Josh Santel, and maybe just like yourself right now, I was not that interested or enthusiastic about the problems people have with video calls when I started this project. But the more research and creativity that I put into this project, the more I believe that there really are problems worth solving in the video conferencing call space. I wanted to create a device to take on a bunch of these problems. So let's talk about the changes in the workplace that have brought us here today. As I've said earlier, we've all used video conference call software like Zoom, Teams, and Meet to communicate with others when people are in different places. My classmates and I have all used these programs to participate in interviews and schooling, but the workplace has certainly made use of these tools as well. Just to present some numbers to you all, there has been a 400% increase in employees who work from home at least once a week in the last decade. We can probably all guess that the number of people working from home or working remotely has massively increased due to the pandemic, but this number was steadily increasing before then as well. 87% of educators consider video conferencing a good aid for advanced degree students, and 57% of employees say they would prefer to work from home in the future. Some stats that I found very important in my research were that 76% of work from home employees use video conferencing daily. Video conference calls and remote work are two things that are used together all of the time. They really go hand in hand. We know a lot more people have worked or learned remotely due to the pandemic, but now that it's not really something a lot of people think about or are shaping their habits around, I think it's really important to note that working, learning, or connecting remotely is expected to keep rising. It's not expected to just drop off to where it was pre-pandemic. 36.2 million people in the US are expected to work remotely in 2050. So this is a very large category that I do think is worth investing in when it comes to solving some of these problems. So let's talk about the problems. The space is growing larger, and with that comes pain points. We have a storyboard illustrating some of these issues that I found happen commonly. We have our user, who I'm going to call David. In our first frame, we have a meeting that is ready to join. Although some issues can happen here, it's usually not a problem area in most situations. David can't tell if he's joining with his mic and camera on, and it's not always clear if they're on during the meeting. Next, David has a low quality video due to the dark room he's in and the lack of lighting for his camera. It's David's turn to share some content on his call, however, things don't always work smoothly, and he is fumbling through some hidden settings, causing more awkwardness and slowing things down for everyone. He finally gets everyone on the same page and gives his presentation. This goes fine, but afterwards he forgets he is still screen sharing due to a lack of feedback and scrolls through Twitter while everyone is watching. As we see from this story, there are a lot of little issues that can pop up and interfere with video conference calls that can lead to awkwardness and wasted time. In fact, there can be such a lack of clarity and feedback that Zoom found 57% of their users say, "Can everyone see my screen?" I know I've heard this on pretty much every Zoom call I've been on, and I'm sure you have too. This happens a lot. We've probably all been in a situation where you or someone else on the call can't share their screen, have forgotten they're sharing their screen, or are just struggling with the camera and microphone. I believe these problems can be solved such that people on video calls won't be caught off guard again. Beside these software issues, there are some hardware problems as well. you need at least a camera and a microphone for a quality video call, and most laptops in this age come equipped with these features. However, desktop setups do not include these things, and laptop webcams and mics can be low quality, especially if there is poor lighting as well. Speaking of lighting, I found in my research that 51% of work video calls are taken in a home office. So I want to equip my device with a light that will make a good quality video and with a light that looks like it belongs in a home office. Another reason I find this stat important is that it really influences the design and narrows down what I'm solving for. I'm not solving for taking a call in a cafe or library meeting room. I want to address the largest segments and the most common bunch of issues that can be solved with just one product. I created some users so we can empathize with them in order to solve their problems and achieve their goals. Something I want to point out about the first one here is the devices that Liza uses. During my research process, I ruled out a device that would also work for iPads in addition to laptop and desktop computers. It's very likely there would be more hoops for the user to jump through when trying to connect a device to Zoom or Teams on their iPad, rather than just using the built-in features. That being said, I wanted my solution to easily work with both laptops and desktops and be versatile enough to address the needs of people in meetings, interviews, teaching lectures, or even creating content. And these three user personas share some of the same problems that we saw in our storyboard. I wanted to solve these problems as well as help Liza, Ken, and Alex achieve their goals. Those are increasing the quality of meetings and interviews, helping to create more engaging and versatile remote lectures, and assisting to streamline workflow while calling clients. As part of the research I did, I looked at products that solved similar issues to the ones I was looking at. I took the best features from them without any of the unnecessary or bad ones. My teachers in middle school all use document cameras, and if you're not familiar with them, it's like a more modern version of the overhead transparency projector that showed those transparent slides. It's basically used for sharing physical copies of documents through a projector. I love how the arm can be repositioned, which makes it really versatile. And I had the idea of using just one camera that can be repositioned to act as a webcam or a document camera, just depending on the user's need. The Stream Deck is another product I took inspiration from. It has visual feedback on rows of LCD keys that can be programmed to different shortcuts or functions on your computer. While the Stream Deck was intended for gaming and content creation, it has become a productivity device as well that plugs into hundreds of different computer programs. The Stream Deck falls into a broader category called macro pads. They exist to streamline your workflow while on the computer. I think the feedback of the ones that have screens, like the Stream Deck for example, and their tactile buttons are great, but I think the device could be a little bit too complex for people who are looking for a easy, comfortable, and versatile solution. These solutions also don't have a camera, microphone, or light. Something really interesting I saw on Instagram about a week ago was this little device called Boop. It's really straightforward and tackles some of the exact same issues that I set out to tackle with this capstone. The device is meant to give feedback and a toggle for your microphone, camera, and screen sharing. I think a downside of this, like the others, is that it doesn't have visual feedback for what exactly is being shared via your camera or screen sharing. Another point is that it seems to be more for on the go rather than a good-looking, more permanent office solution. So all of that brings us to my solution. And to start that off, I want to show you all my process in designing LightView. The first step of this project was research, and you've seen this earlier on with the research I presented about how more and more people are working from home, the issues that this brings about with video conference calls, and some of the products I've looked at that could help solve these issues. The research helped me narrow down a broad topic of working from home to addressing video call issues in a home office specifically. Let's review these problems and the design guidelines needed to fix them. The pain points that I believe can be addressed with one device in an easy and versatile way are poor lighting, lack of screen sharing feedback, lack of mic feedback, and lack of camera feedback. This creates some design guidelines that I followed throughout my ideation. My product must provide good lighting for video calls, let the user know when their camera is on, let the user know when their microphone is on, and let the user know what on their screen is being shared. I created a mood board to have a reference image that is representative of my final design style. You'll see some elements like the rounded Phillip head style detail in the middle there, or a remote like the Spotify car thing on the left. Both of these made it into the final concept. I have the lamp there because I liked how it was a really clean design. A lot of lamps can have springs or different arms for tension, and this one has everything and the cord inside. And if I wanted a camera and light to be adjustable, I wanted it to be clean as well. I wanted something in my final design to look like it fits into a home office or could be placed on a teacher's desk. Taking cues from my mood board and the products I showed earlier, the document camera and the macro pads, I ideated first with digital sketching and then in Blender to get a better feel for the 3D volumes that went into this thing. Blender also allowed me to prototype in a way, switching out different parts until I had my final concept. This led me into CAD and from there into rendering. So right off the bat here, you can see how this looks like a desk lamp. As I said, I thought it would be super cool if this device isn't something clunky or intrusive like a document camera, but looks like it belongs in an office, classroom, or cubicle. A sleek but simple design allows it to look appropriate in a multitude of settings and for a bunch of different uses, which was exactly what I was aiming for. These are the colorways that I landed on. I wanted them to feel somewhat playful, but nothing that couldn't also be seen as professional. In this render, we see that the ring light around the camera, which lets it also function as a lamp, is off. But here we can see, on the left, the light view functioning as a desk lamp. It can provide task lighting for answering emails, reading documents, taking notes, and more. You'll still have something useful to use after work is done and you're out of meetings for the day. Next, I wanted to show off the friction hinges that allow for a wide range of movement. The different hinges and parts you can rotate on this device ensure that the camera and light are always right where you need them to be, whether that's positioned right above your laptop to simulate eye contact while on a call, or looking straight down on a paper of notes that you're sharing. A few more details to look at. We have the USB-C cord at the back of the device here. That would be for powering everything and for data transfer. We also have the remote that sits on top of the light view base. You can see this is equipped with a screen and a dial with some buttons. Let's take a closer look at this remote, which I designed so that it could be used when connected to the base or taken off and held in one hand. This allows for all of the useful functions you need in the palm of your hand, easily controlled with just your thumb. You can see the icons on the top of the dial that allow for changing slides. Those are the two arrows, toggling on or off both the camera and microphone. I want to explain how to use this remote, and it's pretty simple. To turn your camera on, simply push down on the camera icon, and the same goes for turning on or off your microphone. I wanted to make sure there was visual feedback for both of these inputs, so we can see here an orange light by the microphone icon indicating that it's on. There's also one for the camera, but that's just behind the dial in these renders. To share your screen, just rotate the outer dial, which turns on your screen. Let's say you want to share InDesign. Just rotate until that program is highlighted and then press down the center button. As you can see here in the bottom left, you'll be able to see exactly what is being shared with everyone on your call, and you won't be caught off guard. Here's what this looks like to have the screen selection on the remote on the base of the device. You can see that both the microphone and camera lights are on in the orange, indicating that you'll be both seen and heard on your call. And in the bottom right, you can see the 3-dot smart connection that keeps the remote in place and charged when on the base. We have an in-context render here This is what it would look like to use your light view as a document camera. Whether you're sharing your screen or using the camera, you'll be able to know exactly what everyone else is seeing on your controller, either in your hand here or on the base of the device. And finally, for features, I wanted to throw in how to control the light. The user would simply press the center button on the remote, which would bring up the brightness on the screen. From there, the lamp could be controlled from full power to off. So now we've seen pretty much every angle of the light view. I want to touch on some ways that I think this could be used. Even though this device was primarily designed around the pain points that come with working from home on video calls, I think that it could be super useful for teachers who want the face-to-face experience with their students on a Zoom call, but also want to share sketching or notes. I think the light view could be used also for gaming with friends, recording hand-drawn content, or creating social media content thanks to the ring light. Let's look at David's story if he had this product. First, he joins the meeting. He knows his mic and camera are clearly on thanks to the two indicators on the remote and the camera indicator above the camera lens itself. He doesn't have a low quality video this time because his face is well lit. He grabs the remote and toggles the screen he wants to share. His presentation goes smoothly, and since he knows exactly what he is sharing, he is not caught off guard this time. With this capstone, I also met the goals of Liza, Ken, and Alex, as well as met the design guidelines I needed to solve the pain points. Video calls can be intimidating, awkward, and limited, but they don't have to be. With LightView, they can be easy, comfortable, and versatile. Thank you.